You need to get out there and start seeing how this industry works and start connecting with people. Learn more about how you need to round out your criteria or other questions that you can ask. Point is, make connections. See who the players are in your space and in your area too, or that target market if you have that. Welcome to the Path to Passive podcast, where we talk about building wealth and empowering lifestyle through commercial real estate investing for tech professionals. I always wish that other tech professionals reaching financial freedom had documented their journey along the way, so I'm doing it for the rest of us. Join us as we explore stories, many failures, and lessons learned along the way. I hope you enjoy and subscribe. So you've got your buy box of the different types of deals you're looking for. You know your market you want to invest in, and now you need to start generating opportunities to invest in. So where do you get these opportunities? And why should you even invest the time and effort to do this? And who do you get these deals from? In today's episode, we're going to be answering these questions. And what exactly do I mean by deal flow and why you must have deal flow? Who do you get deal flow from? And where do you get it? And of course, the things that you can do right now to get started on building that deal flow altogether. It's not going to be a fast process. So the sooner you get started on it, the better it's going to be. With that, welcome to the episode on Path to Passive. This is real estate investing for tech professionals, the guide for tech professionals who want to invest in real estate and get maximum leverage with their capital to earn income, save on taxes, and build generational wealth. I am your host, Stephen Rita, in today's show. Each episode, I'll be bringing you real estate topics, conversations with leaders, entrepreneurs, or myself to provide some strategies and tips to invest. Today's episode, we're going to be getting into importance of deal flow and generating that. So I want to start out in this to paint a picture. I want to start with telling a brief story. And I always learn more through stories and retain the lessons better. And, I don't have the stats in front of me right now, but I think most people do learn a lot better when they have a story as well. In fact, just to dive into this, maybe get a little bit meta for a second, I remember being told a story where maybe it was more of a quote that went, never tell a lesson without a story and never tell a story without a lesson. So with that in mind, here we are, telling stories to help reinforce this lesson. Anyway, getting back into it. Painting the picture, imagine back in the day here, let's say 100 years ago or so, you wanted to build a settlement that's near a giant body of water. You don't want to build too close, but you want access to that water source. So you dig a path from that water source, let's say half a mile or a mile or so to where you want to make that settlement. When you start building that water, it's that water line, it's small. Build it narrow to start so you can just start getting some water right now. And you plan to widen that flow as you build that settlement, town, and ultimately city that you're planning for. So now you have this water line to your town, and you can start getting that water and using it for all different kinds of uses, whatever it is, the drinking, the showering, the crops to grow, you name it. And for each of these different uses, you learn how to take the water and you learn how to analyze it and how to treat it for the right purposes so that you can make it useful for the manner that it's intended. Based on your purposes, you can get results to grow the food, be healthy yourself so that you're hydrated, feed your cattle, take care of your community, have a party, whatever. Not only that, but you might have enough of this water where you can start to fill not only your needs, but others in that community as well, right? You can share this water, this deal flow in some cases, if you know the source is good. And if you want to grow your community, settlement, town even further, you can think of ways to grow that water flow and expand to get even more water flow or deal flow to your area. You can go all the way from the source of where all the water is and the deals are, expand it all the way from there to where your stronghold is, continue to improve your ways to analyze and convert that water and do whatever you need to make it more effective and do it more efficiently as well. For my infrastructure friends, we're talking how to increase the bandwidth there. From architects, we're talking increase the capacity or zones or whatever. And potentially we're talking about, maybe adding some automation on the way or sessions. The list goes on, but that's the quick story about deal flow. So just to point a couple things out here and maybe state the obvious, we're talking about that story was all to illustrate deal flow. So deal flow, in the context of various industries like real estate or finance, refers to the rate at which potential investment opportunities, these deals, come to you as the investor. This essentially represents the inflow of the potential investments that could be pursued and potentially added to a portfolio that you're building as the investor. If you've done some study or research into marketing, you can really think about these opportunities as leads that you convert, as an example. So, why is this so important? Why is deal flow so important? Well, like we were just talking about, you need these opportunities to fuel your potential portfolio growth. Strong deal flow provides a consistent pipeline of potential investments, allowing you to build a more diverse and resilient portfolio faster. It gives you a competitive advantage. Access to a wider range of options give you more negotiating power and the ability to secure better terms on those deals too, in case you're in that position, right? Because if there's more opportunities for those deals, you can talk about the other deals that you've seen as well. The third point here is market insights. Staying engaged with deal flow keeps you informed about the market trends and emergent opportunities, allowing you to make more informed investment decisions. Next here is motivation and momentum. Actively pursuing deals keeps you engaged and motivated, driving progress and success in your investment journey. This one is particularly important to me. I think it's because the more success you have, the more you have momentum, even of analyzing deals and getting that deal flow, the more you're going to be plugged in. And there's really something there about having the momentum and keeping that. So it's more about the momentum, I would say. Motivation is there too, but having the discipline of going through getting those deals is really what's going to keep you going. So overall, deal flow is a crucial aspect of successful investing in any field, of course, including real estate here. By implementing strategies to generate and evaluate potential opportunities, you can create more possibilities to navigate your own investment journey. So now that we know what deal flow is and why it's important, what about where and who do we get deal flow from? So the first thing here is, where do we get that deal flow from? I'm going to give you two big buckets to think about here. These are how I was taught when I was first getting started in a single family, but the same thing applies here as well, or any of the different assets that you're looking at, and really just sort of marketing and networking in general. So here are the two big buckets. One, you can buy your way in. And two, you can work your way in, or you can think about that one as earn your way in as well. Let me talk about these. What do I really mean? When I'm talking about buying your way in, what I'm referring to here is things like paid groups, as an example. This is just one way. It's the only way I'm going to be talking about in this particular episode. I'll have more in the future. But here I'm talking about masterminds. I sometimes get asked from colleagues when I mention that, hey, I was at a mastermind meeting over the weekend or some kind of conference related to that group. They ask me what that is, so I take a minute or two to explain. And the simplest way that I've used to describe is that it's just a group or community of people who get together based on a common interest and that common purpose and common goals. Networking opportunities that happen, education components. It's usually mentor-led, someone who owns that community, right? Maybe there's organizers, depending on how big it is as well, etc. So there's opportunities throughout the entire year for members to connect and, in this case, investors to get to know each other as well. Something like an online course to get foundational topics or advanced topics or whatever the purpose of that particular mastermind is. Messaging channels like Slack or Facebook groups, etc. And in these groups, you're typically going to have people with different skill sets and backgrounds, but who are all there for a common thing. In this case, we're talking about real estate. And, we'll call it multifamily real estate just to have a specific example here, which is what I'm most familiar with right now anyway. In a multifamily mastermind, you define operators, investors, capital raisers, asset managers, to name a few. There are different hats that people in the investing community can wear. So connecting with these people who are taking action to find deals, analyze deals, and those that need funding from investors are where you're going to start finding deals to look at to build your deal flow. Now, when I say buy your way into these groups could cost as little as a couple hundred a month or a few thousand to a year to 20, 30, 50K or even higher up as you go through the different tiers and types of groups. Personally, for real estate masterminds, I'm in 3 paid groups right now, and I'll do another episode in the future on how to best leverage these groups I found in my personal experience and talking with others in masterminds. And in a future episode, like I said, I'll dive that into much more so that you can, if you're joining one and buying your way in, you can get the best and highest return on investment of your time because it's usually on an annual basis. Now, there are other forms of examples of buying your way in too. That will cover another episode as well. I have some people that I think would be great to come in and talk about those examples they've done, like sports clubs and other things too. But I just wanted to mention this one particular for this episode. So on the other side here, we have work your way in or the earn your way in other bucket. Now, this is a little bit different. And obviously, if you're earning or working your way in, you're probably thinking this requires a little bit more work. And if you're thinking that, well, that's exactly it. This is hitting the streets, so to speak. If you don't want to spend the money or you don't have the money, for whatever reason, to buy your way in, you can work your way in here. There's a lot of ways to do this. I'm just going to list a few here as well. And one of the first ones is start with the community that you're in. Everyone has connections. And so what I'm talking about here is introductions. It's pretty much going to look like going to your network first. Maybe you know people who are already investors. Maybe you can reach out to them and then jump on the phone with them. There's other opportunities too. Of course, with social media and all the networks we have, you can throw a message out there. The second one is creating opportunities to meet people itself. So creating those opportunities. So one is by introductions. Two is who would I like to meet? How can I create those opportunities to be there? This is definitely working your way in by thinking about how to create those opportunities, right? You can create these opportunities by events in person. Think about these as free or paid, meetups, in person or virtual, investing groups, think LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. Websites like BiggerPockets, any Brandon Turner fans out there. It could be that it's from your church as well, or like I said, potentially sports that you're already going to. And that's different from, those other strategies I was talking about for buying your way in when I'm talking about maybe season tickets or like buying a box or other things as an example, just for some contrast. Now, potentially even at your workplace too, there are groups of similar type of people that have those interests, just as an example. Of course, you can do Googling for investors or searching for investors, finding websites and finding contact information from people and types of whatever the asset is that you're looking in. But this can take a bit more work. You've got to get out there and learn a framework to network, right? So, hello, why would, here's something of value, why you would even want to talk to me. This is what I'm doing, I'm interested in. Can I provide this value to you so that we can have this conversation? Whatever. So how do you actually generate these opportunities to invest in? So you can probably tell just by going through the buy your way in versus earn your way in, the opportunities are likely to be a lot more concentrated in one versus the other. So let's face it, if you're going to a group or community specifically dedicated around a topic like real estate, then it's going to be a lot more likely that everyone is there interested in real estate and they're serious enough to part with resources, think time and money to be there. So from the buy your way in perspective, in the buy your way in perspective, it's pretty straightforward. Here you have, people to go and talk to immediately, people to meet. You will see who is tenured and doing deals because they've been talking about them and they will be talking about them. When you get in, you will see it. So you should be looking at who are the people coming on stage to speak to the group. The mastermind is an example. Who are the people in the front row? Who are the people most active on social media? Who are the people that are organizing other groups or sub communities as an example? These are the ones that will have the deals most likely to share because they will be looking for investors themselves. These investors will have websites, they'll have opportunities to jump on, opportunities. They'll have investor newsletters to start, so you can get information about their firm, webinars they're doing, and ultimately deal opportunities themselves. Of course, you need to go talk to everyone there and tell them that you have money to invest and that you're looking for deals. Talk about your criteria that you should have now and that you're looking to build your investment portfolio. Money attracts deal flow, simply put. Also, important note here that you may or may not be available to invest in certain deals based on your investor status. I'm talking about the accredited or non-accredited investor. And if you need to know more about this, go back and listen to episode 8, where I describe some of the nuances that you need to know about. Okay, so on the flip side, once again, let's talk about earning your way in. And I'm just going to cover one quick example here. It's very high level, but I just want to provide the contrast. So the process on earn your way in is very similar, except in where you're going to go, except it's not the paid group. right? You need to go meet investors and operators who have deal opportunities, but you need to work a little bit harder to show that you're someone that can actually invest in deals and are serious. Versus if you paid, a sum of money to be in the group and you're at these groups specifically or these events specifically for that mastermind, and everyone knows why you're there for the most part. Maybe you're more nuanced that you need investors or something else. But since we're talking about finding deals to invest in, you have to state your intent. And so you want to come serious and with show your intent on what you're going to do. So many of the investors that you meet are likely to be masterminds themselves or going to meetups with investors as well who have money or capital to invest already. So the process could be fairly simple. Let's say you go to an online meetup for real estate and there are people throwing their contact info in the chat, something like Zoom as an example. This happens all the time. You ping them, reach out, are interested in getting more info, and are looking for opportunities to invest. 15 minutes, quick, meet and greet, something like that. Hey, I'm interested, and you have a quick back and forth conversation. From here, you can sign up for information directly with that person and start getting email communications and possibly text communications too. So be as clear as you can about what you want to invest in and your buy box right criteria. You don't have to be perfect, but you need to get started. No, you don't have to be completely nailed down, but you just need to get started. The thing that you could do here is ask about what masterminds they are in, what groups they're a part of as well. You can do the same thing if you went to a conference or a meetup in person, go talk to people and find out what they're doing and talk about some of the goals that you have. Again, such as wanting to invest in a deal this year. You'd say something as simple as, hey, I'm looking to invest in a deal this year with this type of criteria. Do you know anyone who has these kinds of deals? It could be as simple as that. Just ask questions from there and just get the reps. You have to practice. Okay, that's all I have for today. It's pretty short and sweet. And I just want to do that quick recap. Today we covered what do I mean by deal flow, give you a short story to talk about as well, why it's important to have deal flow. Pretty simple. Back to that story. If you don't have water running, that pipeline back to your town, it's going to dry up. Bad things will happen, right? Who you can get deal flow from and where you can get it. And that brings us to the action of today. So today I actually have a couple of different actions based on the time that you have right now. I know we're getting started for the year, but now is as good as time as any. Or as they would say, when would now be a good time to get started? So it doesn't matter if you think you're going to be more interested in buying your way into a group or getting into doing this more of an organic earn your way in. You can always buy your way in later after you get some experience. You have a better idea what you're looking for. Now you're going to be pulling up either Facebook groups, meetups, or LinkedIn groups. So for Facebook and LinkedIn, search for your target market that you would like to invest in. Or if you're not sure yet, just do this for your local metro right now. You could even do it by the state as an example. An example here just thrown out for you could be Texas multifamily or DFW multifamily for Dallas-Fort Worth. Or it could be Seattle multifamily. Join these groups and scroll through the messages that are in there. Join 2 to 3 groups. Look in there to answer these questions. Do you see people posting most often? Which people are posting most often? You recognize the terminology and lingo already. And what do you recognize? What don't you recognize? Are there offerings being put in there? Are there webinars? Are there other posts to network with people? The point is just get familiar with them right now. And if you want to take the next step, find a webinar and sign up and attend. For the second action here, this is for all of you that want that extra credit, my people, go for the meetups, right? Go up on meetup.com. This is another option here. Go to meetup site like meetup.com and search for multifamily real estate and join a group. And look for topics that look interesting, something related that you'd want to learn more about, as an example. It'd be topics like financing, loans, asset management, etc. And for today, any topic will do. It really doesn't matter. I just want you to register and join one so that you can see the flow of the webinar and how it goes. You have a very low downside in this case, spending time and getting some education, free education, and much higher upside of getting the experience of investing that time to learn how those webinars go and to see what kind of questions people ask. And you might get some ahas from there right away as well. So go and see. And if there are people throwing their contact info, especially the ones that say, I've done X amount of deals, or I'm doing this, or I'm looking for money, or whatever, get that too and reach out. You need to get out there and start seeing how this industry works and start connecting with people. Learn more about how you need to round out your criteria or other questions that you can ask. Point is, make connections. See who the players are in your space and in your area too, or that target market if you have that. So as you continue down this path, you can absolutely generate deal flow by making connections, getting connected to other groups, and increasing your investor IQ. The power is definitely in groups network. I've heard it many, many, many times over. Your network is your network, but it's totally true. So quote for today, pick this one out. I think it's pretty appropriate, which is the best way to predict the future is to invent it. And the best way to find deals is to create them. This is by Marc Andreessen, for those of you know, co-author of Mosaic, one of the first widely used web browsers, and co-founded and developed Netscape as well. One of the most successful venture capital firms in Silicon Valley. To summarize, one of the most successful innovators and investors of our time. So wrapping up for this episode, I will go deeper into my experience in masterminds, which masterminds I'm in, my experience in them, how to get the most out of them. I'll talk about some of the things I wish I did more of and what not to do. Yeah, I'll share some of those for sure. And we're talking how to spend time efficiently and effective in those masterminds so you can build good networks, expedite and accelerate your learning too, right? I have really started to learn. It's probably pretty obvious, but I'll have some vulnerability here and talk about it, is that just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And that time is the only resource that we can no longer get back. I think sometimes, maybe for me, years ago, I sometimes forgot that because one way or another, I was going to get something done. But sometimes it wasn't it wasn't the best way, and I put too much time in. So anyway, if you have questions about topics, ping me on Instagram, or you can send me an email. My info is in the show notes. But just to mention here, reach out to me at steven@aretacapital.com or Instagram at the.real.areta. That's the real Areta. So if this helped you, please share it. Let me know what you enjoyed. Again, reach out to me if there's certain topics you would love to hear about. If you want to learn more about places that you can search for, additional questions on how to go and find these different groups and start connecting with people in these areas, LinkedIn, Facebook, meetups, I can help you look for those too. Be happy to give you some additional ideas. So with that, thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Path to Passive, and I will see you next time. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Path to Passive. We love connecting with our listeners and those on the path to architecting their wealth and improving their lives. Feel free to let us know what topics you'd like to see in future episodes. Get in touch with us through email or Instagram. See you next week for a new episode.